This video isn't really about Oshi No Ko.
NANI?!
Yes, it's fantastic. It's as good as I knew it would be as a fan of the manga. But I'm a fan of the manga because I like deep dives into the entertainment industry, and this is that done incredibly well. But that doesn't seem to be why most people watched it. That is what we want to talk about today. This morning I decided, you know what, I'll read some reviews for Oshi No Ko on my anime list. And I noticed something peculiar. There were quite a few people talking about how disappointed they were that it was an idol anime. This had me stumped because, yeah, obviously it's about idols. And a little read of the synopsis will tell you the rest. The big twist everyone's being so secretive about doesn't change the core themes of the show. And that makes me think about a problem I've been noticing more and more with the anime community, now that anime is more mainstream. It's the exact same problem I've been seeing with TV and cinema. People aren't choosing what to watch, it's being chosen for them. I get the feeling like a lot of people don't discover new media for themselves. How many of you randomly pick out a show or album and discover something amazing, something special only to you? Whether that's true or not is irrelevant because you found it and it's an experience all for yourself, and you feel a slight ownership towards that piece of media. But this kind of experience seems less and less common in recent years. Nowhere for me is this more apparent than with anime. With a largely very influenceable, is that a real word? Teenage fanbase, anime has seen the decline of personal discoverability, and an increase in hype cycles. Oshi No Ko is the perfect example. I felt I was one of the few people hyped for this show. That was until the first episode dropped, and opened the floodgates of cosplayers and artists creating content about the show. I'm pretty sure none of them actually watched. And then the hype almost immediately plummeted. People had barely clicked play on the first episode before it was shot to the top of my anime list. And when people did watch it, they found that it was good. Really good even. It's a deep, realistic exploration into the positives and negatives of attempting to enter the entertainment industry in Japan. Really interesting, but left a lot of fans disappointed. It wasn't what they expected. Oshi No Ko is a josei, in our metrics anyway. There's a lot of emphasis put on love, family, and in the first episode, the experience of being a mother. These are themes the general shonen anime audience don't really vibe with, and that's absolutely okay. The problem comes that when these anime get too popular, it becomes a trend to watch, without really thinking, is this for me?
So again, back to the first thing that drew my eye with those male reviews. If you don't like idols, why did you click play? Fundamentally, the anime community as it is now is broken. People are watching shows they do not like because everyone else is watching them. Media as a point of community isn't a new thing, and it's not wrong. The issue comes when the community only exists around the newest thing. Oshi No Ko is just the latest in the line of shows you have to watch to keep up. It reminds me of when Game of Thrones first started getting big, and you basically couldn't avoid the show, to the point that there were jokes it was socially necessary to watch it. If you didn't, you were left out of the jokes, the water cooler conversations. This fantasy show had breached into the mainstream in an almost unrivaled way. Of course they fumbled that hard, but at least it was just one show. In the anime community, it's whatever's popular this month, maybe even this week. Media consumption has become a trend, and if you want to keep up, you have to watch whatever's popular, even if you don't like it, or your Twitter and TikTok timelines aren't going to make sense to you. If I wanted to get a little more deep diving with it, I'd argue it's almost due to the inverse. Social media builds trends, not community. The communities are just little bubbles adjacent to the trend. This is very obvious when you see how TikTok functions. I have a whole theory and analysis on this, but to give the short version, TikTok users see the comment section as their forum, because the platform offers no community hub. There are trends that exist solely in the comments of videos, separate to whatever the video actually is, because that's seen as a consistent freeform area to share views. You can DM and have group chats, sure, but there's nowhere you can call home. No one can see where you've commented like on Twitter, so you're alone, isolated. A series of islands across any video tagged anime. People are desperate for community and will build it anywhere. It brings to mind the Barnes & Noble website, which had reviews across the site that were kids role-playing warrior cats. Humans will build community wherever they can, regardless of intended purpose. But with the modern anime community, the problem is that to find each other requires constant engagement with what is popular. You have to choose those currents to find your friends or they float away. And so you watch whatever's trending, whatever anyone says you should watch, because that's what community is. There's no understanding of self-curation or personal taste, because watching anime is a trend, not a hobby. I really often question if these people even actually like anime. These anime fans will bemoan anything too old, too tropey, too gross in their eyes. They complain about characters and authors and plot points so often you can't help but wonder, are you even having fun? As creators, we want to carve out a little hole in this large hole. that's slow and gentle and encourages the development of the individual as part of the experience of being here. We make the content we want and try not to jump on trends because that fast-paced cyclone is exhausting. I see a lot of this in creators in the community who focus on retro media. Amelie Doré, Coffee Cakes, these are people who've chosen a niche not constrained by time or height. And it feels like a soft warm pool you can dip in and out of at your leisure. It's nice. Just people talking about what they love. And then I go on TikTok and I feel like I'm drowning. We started watching Oshi No Ko over a month after it first came out, and the opening physically made part of my brain twitch because by then I'd heard it hundreds of times, just because it was a trending sound on TikTok. Part of the ethos of this channel is to create what we want when we want, and hopefully build a community of people who want that too. There's no use in burning yourself out for something you aren't even enjoying, and today we enjoyed discussing the anime community, and what we do and don't like about it. Oshi No Ko was merely a vessel for conversations we've been having for months, or maybe years, built upon a lifetime of perception and experience. But we do want this to be positive, so let's talk about the positives. It's so great that more people are getting into anime. Even if it's a trend, even if they don't seem to enjoy it. Seeing people engage with hobbies I've had since I was a child is nice. And maybe those people will find shows they love. Seeing anime become more accessible is also great. Big streaming sites like Netflix and Disney are hosting seasonal anime, not just a few shows that are elevated to a more mainstream audience, like Ghost in the Shell and Your Name. There are issues with streaming sites, but just the fact that Netflix has an anime section would be insane to tell child me. Being able to buy manga in most bookshops is something I've witnessed happen in my lifetime. Before you had to visit specialist shops or import things. Now it's just there, accessible, reachable, able to be shared with more people than ever. So many creators have a platform they can live off of because there's a big enough audience that you can stumble across 10,000 people who want to hear you talk about a niche visual novel or a cool piece of tech they found in a secondhand shop. More people also means more money for the industry and a bigger representation in the West that allows business relationships to be built across the seas. I bought a copy of the Solo Leveling webcomic in a bookshop in my town. It's crazy. All these adjacent industries are seeing wider audiences too, so I'm happy there's so much growth. I just wish that people would slow down and actually enjoy the things they're watching and reading. Don't need to watch the latest shows or buy tens of manga volumes to be a valid anime fan. Just enjoy it at your own pace and community will come. It's okay. Take your time, pull up a seat and look for what appeals to you. And if you really want some direction, leave a comment with what you enjoy, and we'll personally recommend you an anime or manga we think you'd enjoy.